Excuse me, sweetheart. You're in the wrong section. First class is for real passengers with real money, not for folks trying to play pretend. That's how it started, loud enough for everyone to hear, sharp enough to cut right through me. The flight attendant, tall, blonde, and looking at me like I'd wandered into her living room uninvited, didn't even bother lowering her voice. She waved her hand at me like she was shooing away a fly. I was in 2A. Window seat. Perfect spot for a quiet flight from Chicago to LA. I'd been there all of 3 minutes scrolling through my notes for the meeting that would decide the future of my company. And here she was, leaning over, eyes locked on my leather tote. "This yours?" she asked, holding up my bag like it might be fake. Cute knockoff. Who's it supposed to fool? People were already looking. A man across the aisle raised an eyebrow. Someone in the back pulled out their phone. I didn't move. My fingers wrapped tighter around the armrest. "Security," she called, theatrically scanning the cabin. "We've got an unauthorized passenger trying to steal a seat." I could feel the heat crawl up my neck. Every pair of eyes in first class was on me, measuring, judging. She leaned closer, her voice dropping just enough for me to hear. "Some people, they just don't know their place." I inhaled slowly. I'd been here before, not on a plane, but in boardrooms, in restaurants, in situations where someone had already decided what box I fit into before I'd said a word. "My name is Taylor Grant," I said calmly, reaching into my tote. "And this," I handed her my boarding pass, "is my seat." She snatched it like a counterfeit bill, held it up to the light. "Could be photoshopped," she muttered. A businessman in 3C spoke up. "It looks exactly like mine." "Sir, please mind your own business," she shot back. My phone buzzed a text from my assistant. "Board meeting moved to 9 p.m. Acquisition vote locked in. Call me when ready." I looked at the name tag on her chest. Melissa. I hit record on my phone. "Ma'am, no recording," she barked, stepping forward. "Show me that policy in writing," I replied, not moving the camera. Her supervisor arrived, older, with a frozen corporate smile. "What seems to be the problem?" "She refuses to move to her assigned seat," Melissa answered quickly. "And now she's being combative." "Assigned seat?" I asked. "You mean the one I purchased for $3,200? The supervisor's eyes narrowed. "You paid full price." She made sure everyone could hear the disbelief in her voice. "Yes, I did." Melissa leaned in just enough for the live-streaming teenager in 4A to catch it. Probably someone else's card. You know how they are. That was it. The flicker of a smirk on her face told me she thought she'd gotten away with it. I stood slowly. "No, I don't know. Please, explain to me exactly how we are." The cabin went silent. Before she could stammer out an excuse, 2 uniformed airport security officers walked down the aisle. The lead one spoke like he'd rehearsed it. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us. On what grounds?" "Disrupting airline operations." Melissa's supervisor jumped in. I kept my gaze on the officer. "Ask them exactly what I did." The hesitation in his eyes told me he already knew this wasn't adding up. And that's when I decided I was done playing defense. I reached into my tote again, not for ID, but for my phone. "It's me," I said into it. "Confirm the purchase went through. File the discrimination complaint. Yes. Full board authority." Melissa tilted her head. "Who are you calling?" I ended the call and smiled. "Someone who's about to make sure this is the last flight you ever work on." 9 minutes before takeoff, the gate manager showed up looking like she'd walked into a lawsuit, which she had. Then my phone rang. I put it on speaker. "Taylor, it's Mark Vincent, CEO of Pacific Meridian Airlines. I understand there's been an incident." "Yes, Mark. A perfect case study in systemic bias. I'm on your flight, and I've just acquired 51% controlling interest in your airline. You could have heard a pin drop. By the time we were at 7 minutes to departure, corporate had confirmed it. I was, in fact, the new owner." And the first thing I did, ordered the immediate suspension of the entire cabin crew. Replacement team en route. Melissa's lips moved, but no sound came out. Her supervisor started bargaining, pleading for another chance. "You've had thousands of chances," I said evenly. "Every day you chose not to take them." Security escorted them off while passengers watched in stunned silence. The new crew, diverse, professional, respectful, took their places without drama. I settled back in 2A, buckled my belt, and answered another call from Mark. "Taylor, what will it take to keep you from gutting my airline?" "5 things," I said. "Real bias, training, not click-through modules. Body cams for all customer interactions. 0 tolerance. 1 verified incident, and you're out. Monthly diversity audits published publicly. And a direct line for discrimination complaints, straight to the executive team." "That'll cost millions," he said weakly. "It'll save you tens of millions in lawsuits, and if you don't, I'll liquidate the company by morning." He agreed before we reached cruising altitude. 3 weeks later, the numbers spoke louder than any speech. Complaint resolution time down by 75%. Lawsuit risk cut in half. Bookings among Black travelers up 60%. My reforms weren't just the right thing to do, they were profitable. Melissa, for her part, made a public apology that went viral. She started diversity counseling, began working with advocacy groups. She even admitted in a speech that she used to judge people by their skin until the day she judged the wrong person. 6 months later, the grant protocol became federal law for all major airlines. And that flight, that ugly, humiliating 15 minutes, turned into a blueprint for how money, visibility, and principle can force change in places that have resisted it for decades. I still sit in 2A when I fly. Not because I have to prove anything, but because every time I do, I remember the look on Melissa's face when she realized who she'd tried to throw off her plane. And I think about this. If I hadn't had the power to fight back that day, it would have just been another story no one believed. So now I'm asking you, what do you think? Should people who discriminate on the job get a second chance, or should they be gone the first time it happens? And if you'd been in my seat that day, would you have stayed quiet or stood up? Because sometimes justice isn't served in a courtroom, it's served at 35,000 feet.